Hey everybody, RetroPie guy here. Today I'm going to show you how to set up the Raspberry Pi operating system on a micro SD card. Now in order to do this, you are going to need a micro SD card reader, which plugs into your computer via the USB port, and a micro SD card. Now I recommend at least a 32 gigabyte micro SD card, and Samsung and SanDisk would be the ideal brands. I find them to be the most reliable. Now in order to do this, you are going to need to go to your web browser here, and you can do this on any computer. Today I'm using a Raspberry Pi 400 just to demonstrate this, but you're going to go to raspberrypi.org, and then you're going to go to the software tab here. Click that, let this load in, and you're going to go and install Raspberry Pi's operating system using the Raspberry Pi Imager. So here we can see that we have all the different download options here. So you're just going to download the version that suits your computer. So if you're using Windows, click this one. If you're using the Mac OS, click this one. Now I'm on the Raspberry Pi 400, which already has the Raspberry Pi operating system on it. That's what I'm actually using here today. But if you were doing this and maybe you're just going through and making another copy, and if that's the case, you would actually just go to your terminal here, and you would copy and paste this code in right here. This will download the Raspberry Pi Imager right through the terminal. So just go ahead and select which version works for you, and then you're going to download the Raspberry Pi Imager. Once it downloads here, once it downloads here, we are going to go in and open it up. So you can double click on your download or open it however your system prompts you to. And it's going to look like this. It'll say Raspberry Pi Imager version 1.5. And this is where we're going to take our micro SD card reader, insert our micro SD card into it, and then plug it into the USB port on our computer. And now we'll go over here where it says choose operating system, and we'll pick which version we want. Now you can have the regular Raspberry Pi OS 32-bit here. There's also some other options here in other. So if we click that, we can see that there's a light and a full version. The full version has a lot more to it. It's going to have a lot more software downloads included, whereas the light version is going to be a much sleeker and lighter version of this. So you can go in and pick whichever one you want. If you have a 32 gigabyte card, will actually work on both of these, but if you have a little bit more space and you're not worried about cramming your system here, I would definitely go with the fuller version here. You're going to get LibreOffice and a bunch of other different software applications that are really great to have. So just for today, I'm going to do the light version here. And then we'll go to choose SD card. And you'll see that your SD card reader is loaded in here along with the SD card. So this is where you want to just make sure that that is the correct card that's in there. All right, so we'll click write, and now it's going to fully download. It'll take about 15 to 30 minutes depending on which version you went with. So when we click write, it'll just say all existing data on SD card reader will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? You'll just click yes. That's just saying that if there's any content already on your micro SD card, that this is going to wipe that out and freshly install this Raspberry Pi operating system in its place. So just make sure that's what you want to do. If you do have something on there that you want to keep, then obviously change out your card prior to hitting yes here. So this next step here does ask us to authenticate this download. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to type in, since this is the default login for any Raspberry Pi operating system, the identity is always going to be Pi, which is the username PI, and then password's always going to be Raspberry. So we can just type in Raspberry, and you'll be able to change this in the following steps after we fully download here. So like I said, this will take anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if your internet's a little slower. So we'll come back once this fully downloads. All right, so our write has been successful here. So we get this write successful message. It says Raspberry Pi OS has been written to the SD card reader. You can now remove SD card from reader. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to take our SD card reader out of our USB port. We'll remove our card. Now we can put this into a Raspberry Pi and boot up. All right, so once we boot up our system, we come to this welcome screen here, which says, welcome to Raspberry Pi desktop. Before you start using it, there are a few things to set up. Press next to get started. So we're going to do exactly that. We'll hit the next button here. And now we have to set our country. So we'll go to United States or wherever you are. Language, we're going to select our language. Time zone, we'll select our time zone here. And then we'll select use English language, use US keyboard if that's exactly what we want to do. And then we'll click next. So it'll set our location for a few seconds here. And now we're going to go to set our password. So if we want to change our password, which we went over in the previous step, which was username Pi, password Raspberry. If you want to customize this and enter in your own password, go ahead and do so, and then hit next. I'm going to just skip this and leave it as it is. So now we have setup screen. The desktop should fill the entire screen. Tick the box below if your screen has a black border at the edges. Mine does, so I'm going to check this box and press next. So now we're going to connect to our Wi-Fi network. It's searching for our network. So we'll go ahead and select our network, hit next, and then we'll enter in our password. And we'll hit next. And now it'll connect. It'll take a few seconds to connect for the first time. And now this will be saved into your settings. So regardless of what you do, whether you power off and unplug your cables and take this to somebody else's house, it will save your network. So once you come back, it works just like a laptop. It'll automatically find the network that was previously set up and connect. The next step here is to update the software, which if you just downloaded this and then right away you went in and put it into your Raspberry Pi and went through this next process here, it's not going to actually update anything, but it's still part of the process where it checks for updates. So we'll go ahead and select next on this screen. And now the update process here does take a little bit of time. It takes about 10-15 minutes or so. So you can just either wait for it or go do something else and come back once it's fully downloaded. So we'll come back once this advances to the next screen here. All right, so once the update process is complete, you'll come to this screen that says Setup Complete. Your Raspberry Pi is now set up and ready to go. To run applications, click the Raspberry Pi icon in the top left corner of the screen to open the menu. Plus Restart to restart your Pi so the new settings will take effect. Now, it's a good idea to do this, so we'll go ahead and restart this. So click the Restart button. All right, so I'm just going to demo this real quickly here and show you around. So here we have our file manager here, so we can go in, we can find all of our different files. If we go over here, we have our terminal. This is a great way to download additional software. If you can find the exact code, we can also do different prompts in here. It's just a super easy way to download stuff versus going through the system and downloading packages first to get them. If we know exactly what we're doing, this is definitely the way to go. So now we can also jump in. Here we have our Chromium web browser here. If we hit the Raspberry Pi icon in the corner, we'll find all of our different software options. So we have programming, we have Office here. This is going to be on your full version. So we have LibreOffice, which is great. I think LibreOffice is actually better than Microsoft Office in a lot of ways. So it's definitely great to have that on here. You can do your word processing, your all your Office needs would be taken care of with all those. So here again we have the Chromium web browser, sound and video, graphics, accessories, help section, preferences, run, and logout. Logout's going to be where you'd go to shut down, reboot, or log out. One last thing I want to show you real quick here is in preferences, and then we have add remove software. So if we go and click on this, this is where we can go to find all types of different software that doesn't come on here stock. So if we went into like games, for example, it'll search for packages and then load them in here. So you can choose from all these different options. These are all different software packages that you can download and have right in here. So there's some like game emulators, stuff like that. A lot of great stuff here. Some of these take a little while to download. Like if you get into some of these in here, there's just so many different software packages that it does take a little while to populate in here. These I know are a little bit shorter, but for electronics, again, you can see here, if we scroll down, there's just a massive list of different software that we can add on here. And if we wanted to remove it too, if we had something we didn't want, we could go into the same section here and and just remove it right off of here to save space or whatever. So that's going to do it for today. This was a step-by-step process on how to install Raspberry Pi OS onto a SD card and then put that into your Raspberry Pi and turn your Raspberry Pi into a home computer. The other nice thing is if you are using your Raspberry Pi as a game console and you've loaded RetroPie on there and you have a game collection card, you can pop out that game collection card, put this card in there, and now you've turned your game console into a home computer. So it's really a nice feature to have. And then you just go back and forth between the two SD cards as needed. That's what I do. So that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do a whole bunch of different tutorials, gameplay demos, just a lot of gaming stuff, but we also do regular Raspberry Pi tutorials as well, like this video. And then you can also check us out online, www.retropieguy.com. Thanks for watching.